Hello, chào tất cả các bạn. Chủ đề học ngoại ngữ từ sớm hình như chưa bao giờ là hết hot. Hôm vừa rồi thì Hương đọc được rất nhiều thông tin nói về tác hại của việc học ngoại ngữ từ nhỏ. Ví dụ như là rối loạn ngôn ngữ, ảnh hưởng lớn đến khả năng tư duy ngôn ngữ, nói năng ngọng ngựu. Vậy, học ngoại ngữ từ nhỏ có đúng là có tác hại như vậy không? Các bạn hãy cùng Hương nói chuyện với hai người bạn khách mời, những người học ngoại ngữ từ sớm để xem họ gặp những khó khăn gì nhé. Người bạn đến với chúng ta ngày hôm nay sẽ là anh Mike, người Canada. Tell me a bit about yourself and families. How many languages can you speak?
We speak three languages at home. English, difficult to avoid. Mandarin, my wife speaks Mandarin.
Wow,
with my kids. And I speak Polish. So my kids understand some Polish and speak some Polish.
Oh, totally three languages, right? Wow,
Right.
a lot. So, normally, which language do your children use to communication with your family member? Especially that when your kid speak to you and your kid with your wife.
Right. Mostly my kids speak English. They're kind of lazy to speak the other languages. But I speak to them in Polish pretty much exclusively. So they understand everything I say. They don't really like to speak it. With their mom, they'll speak English. With their grandma, they'll speak English probably, but she'll speak to them in Mandarin. So yeah, and at school, I guess they have bilingual classes in school. So the English teacher speaks English. The Mandarin teacher speaks Mandarin. Yeah, but they kind of prefer English now, so that dominates.
So, do your children learn by choice or with your advice?
Well, we just started speaking to them in those languages from the beginning, so they just don't know any different, right? They don't get to choose. We just speak to them. I guess they kind of choose English because it's easiest for them. Ever since they started going to school, right? All the other kids speak English, and that's the main language, so they fall to that.
Yeah, so you mean that they speak by natural, right?
Yeah.
Not your choice or they choose, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have any advantage or disadvantage of learning multi-language early?
I don't think there's any disadvantage. Like some people say that kids who learn more than one language don't talk for longer.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that in my kids, and it's not going to make a big difference in the long term. The advantages are obviously they can communicate with more people, right?
Yeah.
My family, my wife's family, other kids. Yeah.
So how about your experience when you speak a lot of language when you were small, when you was a child? So how you feel?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
So, learning another language was kind of difficult, right? There's a lot that you have to really practice in order to really retain. And I remember it being pretty stressful. So as a kid, I moved to Canada and I started learning English by going to school. And everybody obviously spoke only English and I didn't. So that was a really stressful time for me. So yeah, and I guess I was still young enough to be able to pick up the language and not really have a strong accent. I know other people who learned a few years older than I was and they have a much heavier accent in English. I think there is no reason why kids shouldn't learn as much as possible as young as possible. When they're young, from 0 to 5 years old or something like that, the brain is the most soft, right? to learn new things.
Easy to learn things.
Exactly. So, whatever opportunities you can give kids at that age to learn, it's better. They'll retain it better, and they'll use it better. Multiple languages, or more than one language, has a bunch of benefits, such as obviously to speak with more people, but also being familiar with different grammar structures makes it easier to understand other languages in the future, or even like interacting with people who, so for example, I have this experience where I worked with people who English was their second language, and native English speakers had a difficult time understanding what they said, but I had a much easier time understanding because I could, with the broken English, I could still, understand the grammar of what they're, because they were thinking in their own language and speaking English. So there's benefits like that. Yeah, and just the practice of speaking a different language at a young age means you train your mouth and your voice to make sounds that are different. And so you can pronounce things better at a younger age, which means later when you want to learn a language, it's easier to sound correct.
Because when small, right? The pronounce better than me now, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
Because you speak a lot of language, and when you're thinking, it's going to mix.
Yeah. So I don't know, right? I don't know what language my kids think in. For me, it's English. I guess that's the most. Although sometimes I think in Polish, I guess. I don't know. It kind of depends on what I'm thinking about or my mood. I think I don't know. I never thought about this, but maybe if I'm remembering stuff with my family, it might be more Polish. Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious myself what language my kids are thinking in their head. But I would guess it's English because as a kid, I switched, right, at some point. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for the interview.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Hello, chúng ta sẽ quay trở lại tiếp với người thứ hai. Đấy là chị Susan. Chị là người Malaysia. Đây là chị Susan, người Malaysia. Và để xem chị nói và suy nghĩ sao về chủ đề multilingual learner, especially for children. The first question is, tell me a bit about yourself and your family. How many languages can you speak?
Okay, so I'm from Malaysia, and I have 2 kids right now in Singapore. They are born in Singapore. They are right now 12 years and 14 years. So the 12 years is at the upper primary school right now, and the 14 years in Singapore, she's at this secondary 2 level.
How many languages can you speak?
Okay, for myself, I can speak the national language of Malaysia. We call it Bahasa Malaysia, and that is considered probably my native language. Then I can speak English because I'm a Chinese. So there are a few Chinese dialects that I can speak with. So I am from the descendant of Hokkien, and I can speak Hokkien as well as Mandarin and a little bit of Cantonese as well. So probably
about 5. Oh my gosh, you can speak 5 languages. You're so great, sister. So how about your kids?
Okay, so the kids come to the kids. They only can speak English and Mandarin because that will be the essential needs required in school. Yeah, so these are kind of only 2 languages that they speak. And because we stay in Singapore, and they have been staying in Singapore since birth, and in Singapore it's an English-speaking country. So that is why we started with English since young.
So normally at home you speak with your children by English or Mandarin?
So at home, my husband and I speak to them in English, and my parents and my parents-in-law speak with the children in Chinese, in Mandarin. Yes.
Do you think advantage and disadvantage about learn multi-language early?
I feel that learning Many languages, of course, give more advantage to the children. Yeah, right now I'm actually emphasizing my children to learn more languages, like probably some Chinese dialects. Yeah. So if let's say they want to pick up some foreign language like Korean or Japanese or French or German, I'll be glad to support them. And I also feel that speaking many languages since young would give the ability to learn better. And this not only would help in their career in the future and probably in helping the community when they meet. And especially in Singapore, the people here are very diversified. There are many nationalities in Singapore. So learning more than one languages definitely give more advantage in terms of better communications and in enhancing the relationship and for a better networking. Well, I don't think that this can be worse in the long run. I find that learning multi languages at the same time would actually give more advantage rather than disadvantages. So, for example, like myself, 5 languages, and I started with my own Chinese dialect, which is Hokkien, from young, and gradually I speak English and also the country native language, Bahasa Malaysia, when I started schooling. So at one point of time, it was like before 10 years of age, I already can master like 3 languages. And it's only gradually through the environment, I pick up more Mandarin and Cantonese at the same time. So I don't find that this giving me any disadvantages at all. As I mentioned before, so it actually bring me closer to people and to the community.
So how about now when you thinking, so the language will affect your thinking and your musical or not?
No, I still feel that learning multi languages at the same time or starting it from young bring more benefits and advantages.
So now when you thinking, which language you thinking about?
Oh, that's a very good one. So in my thought, when I think I'll think my mother tongue language more.
Yeah, and then
Yes, yeah. But then sometimes I also use English to think, and yeah. So it's I would use these 2 languages to think actually, English and my mother tongue somehow. Yes.
So it's okay for you, right? It's not have any complicated.
No, there's no complication. There's no complication. In fact, I want to learn more. So I encourage more languages that can be learned starting from young age. And I encourage children to start learning more languages when they are younger.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Qua 2 cuộc nói chuyện vừa rồi, chắc các bạn cũng dễ dàng so sánh được khả năng nói tiếng Anh của Hương với anh Mike và chị Susan, đúng không nào? Hương thì lớn lên rồi mới học ngoại ngữ, nên khả năng nói của Hương vẫn còn rất là ngọng nghịu. Trong khi anh Mike và chị Susan là những người hiện tại đang làm việc tại các công ty rất là lớn và có chỗ đứng trong xã hội. Họ tự tin biểu đạt ý nghĩ của mình. Các bạn thấy như thế nào thì cho mình biết cảm nhận của các bạn ở comment bên dưới nhé. Và cũng đừng quên ấn nút subscribe cho kênh của mình. Cảm ơn.